personal pet peeve plus uncomfortable truth and unpopular opinion time. We've got to get better at policing our own to avoid hair-triggered dramas that aren't actually true. So, as many of you probably know, the sequel to Stellar Blade was announced a couple of weeks previously to be Blood Rain, starring Evie, a rather attractive female character, and the game appears, for all intents and purposes, to be a true sequel to Stellar Blade. There were quite a few concerns that Shift Up might go progressive in between, as they had taken on some dubious talent here and there, and also consulted some dubious people, along with the various dangers of a studio growing rapidly and bringing on board all of the wrong people. However, as far as we can see, Stellar Blade is as of yet not showing any signs of that. Thus, obviously, our side of the culture war is all for it. And then, an interesting bit of drama broke. Censorship in gaming economics. Some Reset-era users for Stellar Blade are escalating by reporting the protagonist Eve to Visa MasterCard, or EV in this case, over things like she's too young and her outfits are too sexy. Well, this is obviously an outrage, and indeed, a lot of people started talking about it. This went all over Twitter with dozens of accounts, massive ones, reporting this straight up. Some Stellar Blade fans have spotted that some users on Reset Era and other groups are reporting the game to payment companies like Visa and MasterCard. They want to boycott the game, especially after Shift Up will reveal more outfits and content for the game that they think the protagonist is too young. They started by banning discussion of the game altogether. Now users, they claim to be reporting it regularly. Appendix. This is a massive ongoing action, sounding like the collective shout action that Spectre now are being brought back up again. And this drama had quite a bit of legs and movements on it. The only problem is, it's not true. Literally, it is not true. It is a virtually complete fabrication, a blatant lie, because the only mention of any of this comes from this account, Drunk Truck Driver, who has been banned. So, he doesn't have a whole lot of messages, as you can see. He hasn't done anything on Reset Era, and he says, I reported this game to Visa and MasterCard, so hopefully major retailers and digital storefronts won't be allowed to sell it. User banned, permanent, troll account. And I went through this entire thread of 13 pages looking for any other mention of Visa or MasterCard or payment processors or anything like that. And whilst, sure, it is full of progressive whining and complaining, as like, oh, she's too young, anyone who likes this is a PDF, etc., etc., but there is none of this. There is none of the source of the actual drama of this. In other words, again, this entire thing, complete fabrication. And here's the problem, because there is an argument to be made here that people should be wary of it. Even if that Reset Era post was made by a troll, the account banned, and other users there called it out, I wouldn't be surprised if Collective Shout or similar groups actually try contacting payment processors for real once the new Stellar Blade game gets close to release. Payment processors shouldn't hold this much power over gaming platforms. We must keep an eye on that. Entirely correct, an entirely reasonable position to take. We should be wary because this is a proven tactic of the progressive opposition in order to get things banned. In fact, it's one of their oldest plays. Rather than going to the consumers, over which they hold very little sway, they instead head to the platforms or whatever larger institution they can influence by claiming that they will be accused of sexism, racism, yada 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 yada. We all know this is how it works, and so we should obviously be on the lookout for it. But with the coverage around it, like breaking news, important, Reset Era now reporting Stellar Blade to payment processors like Visa and MasterCard. This This makes us look like idiots. Worse still, it makes us look like grifters. It makes us look like we are willing to throw ourselves on any drama for the clicks of it, and it justifies things like this. Just a heads up, the usual people on Zitter have been using that post to stir up shit online about Era. Be careful with weirdos looking at post history and so on. Now, mistakes happen. I've no doubt done this as well. I am tossing rocks in a glass house here, no doubt. I myself have certainly on previous occasions been too eager to go like, oh, something is happening, it's big, I've got to do it, I got to comment on it, etc. Sure, it happens to the best of us, but the scale of this one is remarkable, and the fact that it's based not even on misleading or a misreading of the early news that came out, or based on simple speculation, it is based on a simple, pure, absolute falsehood, that where everybody has been using terms like users, people, other sources, etc., attempting to make this sound like something large and threatening, when in reality, it isn't. And, okay, why does this even matter, right? Because that's important to point out. It's because we're kind of Streisanding affecting all of this nonsense. There was another part of this drama, which was a petition right here, which again, mentioned, this one didn't blow up, thank God, because people probably looked at this and thought, it's got 41 signatures. This is not a problem. This is not a topic. Talking about this would literally only increase its presence, ignore it, and let it die, as this is the very definition of the Streisand effect right here. This campaign has been up for 3 days and gathered 41 signatures, and I know I'm being guilty of talking about it too now, but the point is, the reason why we have begun to win, and are now, by absolutely all manners, measures, and intents, purposes, etc., whatever you wish to call it, winning the current day culture war. We are on the rise, and a company like ShiftUp, even if targeted by companies like payment processors, honestly, what are they even going to target? You can argue that they might head towards Steam, but, well, they've already hit Steam, so I was like, okay, I guess they could hit them even harder, maybe, but that seems unlikely too. They could go after ShiftUp directly by hitting titles like Nika, I suppose, but this would be an incredibly unpopular thing to do that would achieve virtually nothing for the payment processors and, in all due likelihood, only heighten the profile of ShiftUp and their games. This is something that they would do if placed under sufficient pressure by the correct pressure groups, those who have the ability to, as mentioned already, call them racist, sexist, etc. But if this was happening, we'd be seeing a lot more of it. And again, whilst we need to look out for it, the reason why we have begun to win and are still winning is because we are the reasonable side. We are the ones with the best arguments, the truth on our side, and that can show everybody the most appealing future they want. We are the ones who go, you want to play a cool-ass video game with a hot female character? To which everyone says yes. We are the champions of that, and again, I've mentioned this so many times, the entirety of politics and the culture war at large is 2% of people fighting over the attention of 98%. We are not the majority. The majority of people have no idea what this drama is about, or that there is any drama at all. They might have a sort of kind of understanding that something fuzzy and probably negative is happening over in the distance, but we, the culture warriors, the people who know about this, are a vanishingly small minority. That's why I did the video on Legendary Drops channel the other day to show you where the normies are via our position. And if we begin making shit up, and again, this is what I fucking heard about, if we make these people start to look sensible, if we make it so these people start looking like they have the truth on their side, as in this case, yet again, they self-evidently do, I mean, this isn't the battle that's going to lose the war by any stretch of the imagination, but if we make a habit out of this, we will be no different than the left. And you can argue our morals might be different, that we have a better reason for looking out for these things, and I even heartily agree with much of it. Again, we absolutely do need to be actively on guard for future cancellation campaigns against games like Stellar Blade 2, but we must be rooted in reality. Otherwise, again, I remind you, the entire reason why our opposition managed to conquer so many institutions and so much ground was because they were using victimhood as a currency. We must not give it to them. At the very least, not this easily, and at the very least, not in this obvious a fashion. And again, this is one of those will probably look very bad right now videos, but that will age like fine fucking wine, I guarantee you, as it's not like this is a mystery. We know exactly where this path leads. We ourselves were outraged at the fact that the opposition were just making shit up back in the day. I'm sure a lot of you recall the Anita Sarkeesian videos, where she argued that Batman only had a cape to hide his ass, so as to not sexualize him contra the female characters. Again, pulled directly out of Anita Sarkeesian's cavernous anus. We must not become what we so rightfully hated. And if that means you've got to hesitate for a second, maybe lose out on that breaking news spot, then, well, that is probably a sacrifice well worth it. But anyways, that's my sanctimonious preaching on this particular topic, as I really had to get it off my chest, if for no other reason than for my own selfish benefits. So, until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.